I'm trying to remind myself how this all, okay, we talked about how in the early 80s, when all the bullies who like to start fights and pick on people, to take advantage of people, take lunch money, whatever they were doing, started to find the right one. And the right one, like it was nothing new about this, but when they found the right one, they get spanked, and they go run home or wherever they got a stash, come back with a firearm, and they want to shoot. So that was pretty much the beginning of the end of the fair fight era. But it did not end the bullying. The bullies still want to be bullied, but now they got guns. Okay. So there's many moving parts, so it's always going to be more that's not said than what is said anytime you start touching on historical events. With that being said, we're going to talk about Decatur in Atlanta. Now, what we would do a lot of time, when we want to get that academic diploma, that GED, we might want to go to open camp or night school. We don't want to end up in Rialto, Key Road, that was another Key Road, and a few other for the so-called bad, I'm gonna just use that term, bad student, right? Remedial and all that with disciplinary problems. We want to go to open campus, go to night school, get a GED, or just go to school and get the academic diploma with the A's and the B's. But the bullies in the school, the misfits, they see where you're going with it, and they trying to mess that thing up. So now we're gonna go, in my personal experience, with Ulysses, Gary Evans, Randolph White, right? Just name some names come to mind, Carmen Home, people like that I'm going to school with. Bobby and Russell, the Cherokee Indian twin, I think that's a Cherokee tribe, Indian twins, people like that. Aquinas, I forgot Aquinas' last name. I know it, I forgot it. So, people like this, right? So around the 5th grade, if I'm not mistaken, because we coming up out of the time when, like the Smurfs, we had a cartoon called the Smurfs, and they had a shoe out. We used to have the crayons way back, like my Columbia Elementary day. That was Scooby Brown, me and Scooby Brown and Big Nars go to Columbia Elementary. Around that time, or a little after that, we had the crayons and whatnot. We've been wearing Sebagos, penny loafers, stuff like that. So we got a little older, newer brands brands that were newer to us as far as a fad. So we got to the point where the prepping gang, college preparatory dress came in. And we was doing like polo, hunt club, Le Tigre, duck head, things like that, right? And if you didn't have in that certain group, you know, that was usually lesser quality, is what it's all about. The parents who was stingy thought they were about half slick. They used to talk about name brand, you buying a brand. But if you're not gonna sit up and sew up my whole wardrobe like a king I am, and we gotta go to Bird Eyes and whatnot, we want the best textiles that we can get. I think that's right, textiles, right? Right, we want the best clothing, haberdashery we can get because it goes on our body. Now, little did I know back then, I found out from actually Queen Valara, Renita El Harper, she talks about DuPont and all those families who monopolized the textile industry, who started to introduce man-made polyester and all that kind of thing. That disrupts your currency, your current. when we exchange real currency like gold and silver and whatnot, something else exchanged from soul to soul. But the House Joint Resolution took that out of the picture, made it illegal for us to demand gold and silver in repayment for our goods, merchandise, and labor and services. So anyway, here we are in school, and I'm like 5th grade now. When the older people, of course, they had already been doing this because college preparatory is what it is. You will see that on the average campus. And of course, in the business sector, when people get office jobs and things like that, brick and mortar building jobs, if their job description permits them to dress that nice, because that's pretty nice. College preparatory dress, like I say, Polo, Hunt Club, some of the main brands, La Tigre, you can get away with that. Duckhead, and a few more. There was a few others in that category of college prep. And I named a couple of pair of shoes you might see. You might see some green and white Stan Smith. Now, those years, me myself, I'm like 5th grade. Do the math, right? Born in 73, 5th grade, never been kept back. Birthday come in May, right? Do the math. I'm not trying to think like that right now. I'm moving on with the issue of the gunplay, how it became a thing to where it grew to where it is right now. Today, it started in the 80s. So the young people and any old fools who can be blamed for starting this, you got two sides on the chessboard. You got the one I just described, the bully. The first one to go get the gun. Now sometimes some of the first incidents may have been the bully, the one picked on, who got beat up and they got tired of dealing with the bully and the teacher and the principal and the reverend and the parents and the neighborhood watch or whatever. And they went and got him. They said all BS must cease. You of course, you probably have some situation like that. But either way it goes, the bully is the antagonist. That's the bottom line. Bullying is the wrong thing. So now, this is what we did. Not only did we start to stop fighting so much, because back then you could fight a lot and get away with it. Hell's Angels, Biker Gang, they had a lot of fights, young and old, that the police didn't handle the way they started handling in the mid to late 80s. On up to now. You know, you could bond out, you know, you probably won't even go to jail, all the time. Sometimes they'll stand around and watch you fight. The police. As long as there's no guns, no knives, it's empty-handed, right, man to man. Sometimes they'll sit and watch two, maybe more fight until it's over. They go, all right, break it up. It was like that. You look at old shows like Bonanza, Gunsmoke. It was pretty much like that, really, when it comes to that aspect. So now we started wearing prep. But the shirt tail would not be tucked. We started wearing them kind of big. It's like the beginning of time of wearing bigger stuff and not so fitting like tailor-made. So the shirt tail will come down like halfway pocket or below the back pocket. Like fall below what they call it, the groin area, the genitalia area, fall below that level, like a mini skirt would. And of course we have a larger size slack khaki or jean, right? And everything would be everything, we press it up. So back then you didn't have metal detectors either. So some among us will come strapped. Not to come do anything, but because you got these people now, and we know, like I mentioned, Tech Wood said, Alpha Omega from Hustle Gang, T.I., Clifford Harris, Hustle Gang. You can Google him. We got T.I. Harris up there. So you have Alpha Omega, Tech Wood said, talks about how much of these problems were generated just from the jealousy in someone's heart. Nothing more than that. So that's not justified at all. And many of us knew this because we were there. Many times it will start in elementary school and carry on to middle and to high. And at some point it will get out of hand. So the thing about the non-aggressors who are like well versed in defending themselves, quote unquote, like I ain't going out like that, Shawty. We talk like that. Shawty, I ain't going out like that. Shawty, oh what no. I can't see it, Shawty. I'm not about to sit here and allow a person to come talking trash, walk all in my face, probably spit, might spit in my mouth, not flex from the talking harshly, but I mean right in my mouth. They do stuff like that to make you throw the first look. So they can say to the principal and the police now, all I did, okay, that'll be a misdemeanor. You will catch a felony, you will have to serve time for a felony, they'll get misdemeanor charges, disciplinary action. And they are the real original bad guy. Okay? This is type of stuff we're dealing with. Some of these guys are starting to be abusive toward their girlfriend. Most of them not married. But some of these guys are starting to translate from the playground against the boys and even girls that they just was friends with and neighbors and whatnot, family members, to the girl they actually dating. This is a very serious issue. And a lot of times, if we're not the brother or whatever, close friend, we'll just watch her and see how she acts with him when they're not arguing and fighting. Well, okay, if she gonna put up with that, that's her. Because when we was raised, a lot of adults, that was like it. A lot of these households, it was very what we call today DMV, on the record. And ain't nothing stopping that woman from running away, taking them children, go somewhere else, away from that abusive person. We just won't intervene. And Janet Reno came along. And she almost single-handedly turned the whole court system around when it comes to DMV, especially husband versus woman and any parent versus the children. That was Janet Reno got that credit. She was one of the main ones that, as far as knowing the name, associating a name with the authorities and the community cracking down on domestic violence, Janet Reno. And I think that might have been the 80s as well. So now, I'm getting to the part when I get them mixed up, because we had a principal called Stan Pritchard, was his name. And I gotta make this brief. Stan Pritchard might have been Colombian. But if my recollection served me correct, we had a black principal around 6th, 7th grade in Tony Elementary. Me, Carmen, Home, Bridget, I forget her name. We had Cookie was there. Trying to remember people in my class name. And the twins, Bobby, Russell, Cherokee twin, all them, right? But I know for a fact, whoever the principal was, they started telling us to tuck our shirt tail in the waistband of the pants. We couldn't wear our shirt out. Why? Mainly, it was Atlanta, Fulton County school system. They were realizing Negroes was coming to school with their pistols. Mind you, we still in the 80s. Am I right? Yeah, we still in the 80s. Yeah, my junior year, 90 hit my junior year high school. We in the 80s, so we still coming up from children under the Atlanta child murders, Wayne Williams, ... So they telling us not to walk not to walk with protection to school before before dawn. A lot of us got to move before the crack of dawn because we live that far from the school. Get out there for the school bus, it be cold, it's woods and shit all out there, all kind of things. So we'll buck the rule and come prepared for whatever. Self-defense, right to bear arms, constitutional amendment right and whatnot, right? All law, supreme law. But they telling us, and for the most part in DeKalb County, there were no school shootings. Wasn't nobody really pulling out their guns showing it. It would just be rumored within a small circle that such and such Perhaps that's if they even showed it, and that's even if somebody said something. It was real cool back then. It wasn't, but Atlanta was ahead of Decatur on the urban violent type trend that happened in America. Atlanta was ahead of Decatur. We was a little behind them. We say it was great in Decatur. They call Atlanta black man heaven when they from Miami. But when you get, if you from there, you know. It's great in Decatur. You had bigger, better houses, better apartments, less projects. Probably, I don't remember those projects in Decatur. But it probably about Kirkwood and all that, if that's considered. I meant to say DeKalb County. East Lake Meadow might be DeKalb, I forget. East Lake Meadow might be DeKalb. That's right there. You bought it like East Atlanta. Like technically East Atlanta on the books. So anyway, they started telling us to tuck your shirt in. But our clothes got even bigger. So you can even put something in the back pocket, the front pocket, or just have it under, you fix it up. So that trend and that fashion police type of thing that came in with the trend all coincided with the guys that started use the gun a lot of times for the wrong reason. Not wanting to take that loss that came to being in the wrong anyway. So, moving on. The anger that came from being picked on, a lot of time, it's old, it's ancient. A lot of time in Decatur, in Fulton County, we call it Joan. Like J-O-A-N, like the female, or J-O-N-E. We call it Joan. The verb is Joanine. So we would say Joan. Right? In Miami, we would say rank. Right? Selling out. Ranking. Right? Down the line, he started saying he got a joke. But back in then, we would say ranking or selling out. Lost it, he got lost it. Up there we say jump. So what we would do is the root of a lot of these bullies, once they got a certain age, not all of them, but some of them, many of them, their parents couldn't afford to keep up with the fashion trend. That was at the root of a lot of the jealousy, because the girls tend to be kind of finicky, and they go after the Rudolph Valentine, the Ronald Reagans, and things like that. And now at this age, it's like Billy D. Williams, Burt Reynolds. These are stars on TV, David Hasselhoff. But in school, it's the best dressed, the most handsome, well-groomed. His hair, his tape, if he growing hair on his face and stuff like this. And you got a little sports thing too. And some of the guys even struggling with the sport because their parents couldn't afford the equipment. And there's little fees you gotta pay, even to play high school ball and whatnot, park ball. Everything is getting more expensive. So the guys, also they started smoking cigarettes and smoking reefer, snorting cocaine, drinking alcohol. They are becoming less athletic. So now the guys might have been beta males coming up, Charlie, they becoming alpha, because a lot of alpha who are indulging in drugs and stuff, they falling off. So if you weak-minded and you prone to give in to the jealous side and let that fester and develop into a full-grown green with envy monster, what we would do before we put hands on you, we'll just jump. We might not even pick you. We might not say nothing to you. There's been times where guys spoke up. It's an A and B conversation. You see your way out. You all in the bus that can't catch up. You all in the Kool-Aid, don't know the flavor. We talking to somebody who we been knew had that type of inside for us, beef in his heart. He came out of elementary school. right? It came out of middle school, whatever. But now out the blue, we ain't spoke to each other in years or whatever, right? They done went and found somebody else to pick on in high school or whatever. Might have went to a different school. So this might not be a school setting, but in school is where it's highlighted the most. That's why a lot of misfits couldn't even drop out. It was so much fun. They might have an F, be an F student, but they can't stop going. That's where all the happenings at. Because you got the C, the D, C, B, and A students just as cool as the F students. And they running with a cool crowd. So we start joining. But now, in Decatur, you don't want nowadays, y'all. We say stuff like that. Now, those who didn't have their finger on the pulse and keep up with the pace of what's going on, a lot of them went toward the statistics that we were hearing on the news media when they were explaining why your child, if you had a child back then, between the ages of about 11 or 10 and definitely 20 something, let's say 29, fuck it. Your child, they had this commercial come on with, do you know where your child is? Because people have started to become falling victim, and it's not all bad guys that's falling. The younger guys, we had a minimum wage that was so pitiful it wasn't funny. In 81, 86, 88, even 90. 91, the minimum wage was pitiful. We had super inflation, hyperinflation. These are taxes and prices going sky high. We got jobs leaving the whole country going to the east, in the Asian countries and whatnot. Korea, Japan, Taiwan, everywhere but here. It used to be funny when we saw a Taiko, a Hot Wheels car that was made in Taiwan. But that stopped being funny when our parents couldn't find jobs. And the older guys who were living an R&B life with their high school sweetheart and whatnot, and the players who was just going through as many women as they desired, like James Bond 007, started sitting in jail behind child support, alimony support, failure to pay this, that, and the third. Homes started going foreclosure. Because what the political scheme society is doing is damage to the infrastructure of the American people that we need to thrive. Mind you, the war machine is in full effect. We come out of Vietnam, it calmed down a little bit, started jiving in the Middle East, Lebanon, Kuwait, Beirut. You would hear that a lot. Before Desert Storm, you hear Beirut, Lebanon, Kuwait. Those are some of the main things with CNN, 60 Minutes, things like that. Life magazine, Time magazine. Right? The same time period they targeted Down by Law. Down by Law, the gang was targeted before they even put the Crips and Bloods on television. They started on talk show hosts. The daytime talk show host. Before the movies came, it was the daytime talk show host. And one of the members on the panel started to be a Blood or a Crip. For some reason, they focused on Blood and Crip. Not P. Stone El Rookie, not GD. For some reason, they went to Cali and they began to start to kind of sensationalize. Meantime, Time and Magazine and Life Magazine, 60 Minutes and stuff like that, they named Mike Murphy as the leader of Down by Law when Timothy Peanut Harris got killed. This is in the 80s. This is the precursor to the green light on the tough on crime, RE, war on black and brown and poor white. Young man, your only out was the service. See, that was another way to force us to run. There's no factory job for you dropouts and underachievers. And there's no No game, no more hanging around happy days. Fonzarelli, Richie, Potsy, no more of that. Either get your behind in the military or you go to jail. With the first fire, last hire, the job might not work. We know you're having children, child support coming, spouse support coming, that domestic violence coming too, because that pressure is unprecedented. Never before had a man and a woman had that much pressure on them. No one is preparing them from this pressure that's coming down. It's coming from government malfeasance, number one. The church and Jesus can't help you. The school can't educate you enough. It won't. That's the only two places we were taught to go. Some type of education by way of trades, right? Or what they call higher learning, degrees. College degrees, university college degrees. But the cost of college, then at the same time, it started with, if you go to the military, you will get a home, you can get married and have children, you can take college courses, everything you can't do in civilian life. And mind you, illegal immigrants and immigrants are coming to the country, especially the wet foot, dry foot policy, which from my studies started actually with John F. Kennedy. From my studies. They usually talk about another president after him, but Kennedy had that on his tape, on his pocket item as well. So while we were watching, especially Cubans come and get business loans, home loans, they got fresh cars, you name it. They got high school graduate children getting Ferraris, Hialeah High, Beach High, here and there, wherever they go to school at, Jackson, Generals. He got a Ferrari out there as a graduation present. Your father, whose father's father fought in the military, going back to Crispus Attucks, Paul Revere, can't get jack from a bank. My father rounded up my stepmother, EJS Express. I was telling you about my stepmother, the one I named EJS Express after because she was one of the only ones who gave us phonograph wax that we could use for DJing purposes and whatnot, sampling and whatnot, looping. Her children at the time, and my mother's children. And he took us around to at least one bank, at least one, with his military service picture in army uniform. And he would set it up on the desk and talk to the banker with a big smile on his face and keep asking for the loan. And I think this was after he went by himself or with other people. This time he brought his family. We went to at least one bank. I think it was more. And the guys would get very uneasy. A lot of them were albino looking. They didn't look Hispanic. They definitely wasn't black or Native American or Asian. They looked like albino, right? And they would get very, very like visibly upset, turn red, and just mad that he asked me some more. But he has his family with him. He has his service, military service picture, He's very polite, but he's just insistent. They got really upset. But mind you, this is in the 80s. If it's not 79, 78, I'm thinking I'm like 7. In 82, I was 9. And I think this happened before in 82. I wasn't wearing glasses. I started wearing glasses when I was 9, 82. It's got to be 81, 80, 79, 78. So now these immigrants and illegal immigrants, you got two types of immigration. They in California talk about I. It starts with I. Then you got one that starts with, I think, E. When you get into the law, statutory law and all of that, statutory legal code, that makes a big difference, right? And this is how they did the land grabs and supplanted anybody that was over here on these shores before they started that. I wish I could say the year, the land grab. But this is going to be around roughly the Trail of Tears and the 13 colonies, and then you got that mad move to the west, 49er gold rush type period, somewhere up in there. So mind you, the original people never were what you call racists or bigots. So whatever the pirates, so-called explorers found when they came over here, it wasn't racism. See, it wasn't ism and schism. So if you had Albayans already here prior to 1492, they had fair treatment under all law, supreme law of the land. By then they had married in and had children or whatever they wanted to do, as long as it was lawful, right? So don't take this as an attack on any one of Albayan, because Albayans could quite possibly trace themselves back to people who were here before 1492. That's very possible. If you get into the family tree, you'll find it. So don't get it twisted. So back to Joni and Rankin in Miami and Dade County. We call it Rankin. I think Broward too. Rankin, right? Larceny, selling out. And ATL, Decatur, shouted, we call it Joni. And a lot of times, we didn't have to do that. We'll do roast. Miami, a lot of times they say drove or bussin' D-I-C-K. Bussin' D-I-C-K is a cuts above droving. Droving is just like wearing nice clothes. Bussin' D-I-C-K, you pretty much shut shit down with that outfit right there. Like for real. Like everybody within like a whole county wide that night came on that night. That's bussin' D-I-C-K. Now, so things like that. A lot of guys, and this is what JT Money a lot of times touch on. A lot of guys had a drug habit, almost catch up with a female. They say a female can take more of certain type of schedule 1, schedule 2, whatever, that than a male. So you got some of these guys going toward feminine types of capacity to indulge. And that breaks the pockets. Time we was stealing hubcaps. Before the rim became popular, you had to steal hubcaps. Stealing cars. If you're more smart about it, you go to the chop shop. So a lot of guys were doing all this stuff, still broke, because they got a habit. They chasing prostitutes. They drinking alcohol. They using schedule, you know what, indulging. Trying to keep up with the fashion. And a lot, at first they start just looking bummy. Because they're young. Somebody got to pull their coat, or they got a peep game and realize, oh, it's cool to wear a Dickie suit. Right? Back in the day, you had dudes wearing all black before they made it popular on the rap music. But a lot of people didn't peep game, or they knew why. And usually, they wouldn't do it until like for X amount of minutes, and then take that off. But then the era of the Liberty Bell came in. When the Liberty Bell era came in, that became more regular. Gangsters in black are out there, all because of the shit that we wear. They lied. They had already started. Freeway Rick Ross thought it was late. See, you got people names I won't even say contemporary and prior to Ike and Bunky Brown. I won't even say their names because a lot of people don't say their names. I won't say it either. They lying. We've been doing that. But when you're doing those certain things the correct way, which a lot of guys were dropping the ball. If you know anybody got a rap sheet a mile long for possession with intent, sales cases, right? Possession with intent to distribute, you got a mile long, you drop the ball. Because all the old schoolers laced us up on how to get down. You drop the ball. Kind of like dry snitching. Because what happens is when Officer Bell, Ponytail, or whoever after they have to come to that same location X amount of time, that shit gets mapped. Now can't nobody do that no more without probably going to jail. Because the first people wouldn't listen. Right? Wearing black, brown, green, camouflage, whatever. There's different ways to flauge. You ain't gotta wear camouflage per se, but you ain't got the flauge game on lock. And it's all coincide with what? When they sensationalize gangsterism in the media, Hollywood. First it was talk shows. Then it became the music. Around the same time. I think the talk show was first. Don't quote me on that. NWA might have had already come out. Don't quote me on that. But it was right around the same time. Down the line, they're gonna get some decent movies. Better than like Colors. Colors was one of the first. Colors was one of the first. I Am a Nightmare Walking inside the Fast Talk. That was one of the first. Down the line, after me and Slimzo dropped Claim to Fame, right? By them people faking like they from Atlanta and Decatur. Claim that my city is my city, they claim. Because they talked that job on the record, but they ran out the kitchen, they couldn't stand the heat from the job they talking about. They ran from Compton and whatnot, Oakland. They come up under us. Why that, y'all? Going back over there in California, like we telling illegal immigrants going out of the country. Go on and handle the business over there now. Don't run now. Why they coming to Decatur where it's greater? So what's going on? What's up with that? Because let the news media tell it. If we not pattern after them, we ain't jack. S-H-I sugar, honey, iced tea. Right? But why all the people with some brains and want to live past 24 hours, why they run into it got to the point, tri-state, Midwest, Southwest, and the West Coast, everybody in Mecca, the Mecca of hip-hop is what? ATL. So now, going back to the beginning, Schoolie D, before NWA, Spoonie G, the Godfather, Schoolie D, Gucci Time, PSK, what does it mean? People always say, people can't understand how one homeboy became a man. Now, around that time, many of us still dressing preppy. Me and my little clique, we started dressing hip-hop and preppy. Right? For all the people who know us, don't make no mistake about it, y'all. We gonna show up and pop. Don't make no mistake about it. When Polo riding boots done came into the picture. Let's talk about this. When East Hamp boy wearing Cazelle and troop suits and the troop shoes, big gold ropes, right? With the slanted Kango and the Jerry curls and the perm. Let's talk about this. These are little segments and elements I couldn't get to because it was already so long, and by the time I said what I said, I was off on another subject, building toward the main idea several posts ago, not just one post. So these are little tidbits and the details that further explain and illustrate the atmosphere, the environment that led up to a lot of this stuff, right? Yesterday, I think it was, in the breezeway, on that stage out there, little platform out there, outdoors, I talked about, I think I mentioned one of the, how would you say that, exemplary incidents Tech Wood said was talking about on the post on YouTube. And a lot of people was in the comments who knew about Strong Street, Blase Squaze, Peaches, Blase Squaze. And I went on to Poison Clan, one of the first like hardcore rap groups that really got distribution and, you know, like concerts with people like Kid Play, Young MC, and Tone Logan, all the hot people who want to top charts, who charting Poison Clan was one of the very few. They was on the tail end of that first wave of NWA Ghetto Boys, that was Rap A Lot, Ruthless Records, Too Short signed to Jive, I think eventually, if not first. Ice-T, I forgot who he signed to. You know, you ain't got much. Jive Records one, yeah, Star Rock, KRS One, Boogie Down Production on B-Boy Records, but then KRS One stock got knocked up. KRS One got another deal. He went, I think, Jive, My Philosophy. I think that's on Jive. The first one was B-Boy Records, BDP Posse, right? Mac Boo is down with the other. My brother, yeah. I think I got that right. So now, only people noteworthy, really, Poison Clan, that's like 9-0. So you talking about production like 89, 90, no doubt. And whatever else they had from way back when. Ain't nobody else really doing that for us. Me and Slim don't drop. We dropped just in time to put us right behind Poison Clan and can holler nobody else's name that I know of. Nigga gotta show me. Now Hitman Sammy Sam, yeah, but he ain't signed a record deal. You know, JT, Jelly Bean and Smurfette and Smurf and all them Kizzy Rock and all them Edward J, yeah, but they ain't, I don't think they got no hardcore out though. Right? And FTW, Manhattan Madman, put me up on Texas, OG Style. E, and I forgot his DJ name. My name is E, motherfucker. Not Tommy Tucker. OG Style. That made it out. I can't really say no more. The dude say Mob Style was out. I don't know about Mob Style. Back then, I don't know. I learned about that on the internet year 2000 or something. 2020 something, 19. Something up in there, 18 something, the Mob Style, right? So I can't say much more. But what we do know is Poison Clan, Loop Records, Ruthless Records, Rap A Lot Records, Ice-T and Too Short, you gotta throw them in there. Them some of the first ones to do it, that's the ism. More ism than anything. Even though they touch on the G, they got G history and all, but they inclination was heavily leaned toward the IZM. If you know, you know. So we dropped from Decatur / Atlanta. And all HELL gonna break loose on the heels of that in the rap industry. People left and right, from East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, Southwest. Even in Caribbean. Central and South America, South Paul, Mexico, you know, it's gonna pop off. And a part of that had to do, a large part had to do with everybody pretty much who did what we did and took us some steps further. Slim's old explanation is he didn't take it seriously until after Derek D'Anthony Brown got knocked up. So that bought them like 4 years. My explanation, y'all hear about that all the time. I just talked about them 3 brother-in-laws. It's way more than that. Because you got other people like Ronald Brock, Lil Sir Nose Jr., Joyland, ... Crooked police officers, crooked judges. See, and now you're going toward big business who had a pipeline of prison, convict lease system. And oh yeah, back in the day, it wasn't nothing for us to sit up and write volumes of raps and even have rap contests in jail. How about somebody on a 3-way call or whatever on the payphone, faking like they on a conversation, picking up that rap, while somebody like Dave Herrera, Andre Herrera, right? Dallas Austin, Sean Puffy Combs on the phone listening. Play with it. Play with it. Because they in a position. You the golden goose laying the golden egg. and they right in position to catch every golden egg come on that goose backside. Right? You got a lot of unsung heroes, ghost writers, people who just got their job jacked. I came across something on Instagram about a group. You got the album cover, you hear the song and all that. They say that's where Jay-Z hook came from. That's where the track came from, that's where the hook came from. He straight jacked it. And I don't even think he gave them credits on the album. Lots of that going on. Cutthroat, right? You had a member in the Cutthroats. They made it on a soundtrack. I think that was Menace to Society. I'm not sure about that. Stop looking at me. They gave Guru credit, but Guru later said he didn't do that, but he know them, he worked with them. But they put his name on that because it might give him more credence, more credibility in the industry. So he let it ride. One of them guys ended up dead. But the backstory, he used to be in the industry, in the suites, SUITES. And he wasn't with that BS that a lot of them Olos, you know, be with. You know, but that thing is tied to mafia. So you're gonna have little mob figures here and there. So when they feel a way, they just might say, well, because he wanted, because a lot of that stuff is a front anyway. Right? So when you come in there like that, even though their little dog need to get back on the leash, put a muzzle on it, they want you to go in there and be humble and afraid to speak up for yourself. Shamik, phase 2, Broken English. He was a lot like that during the production stage of the album, Broken English Clip. That's a lot reason why Wild Pitch dropped that project. Because Shamik was in there, because Shamik from New York. Don't nobody know like a New Yorker. That's the heart place of the so-called hip hop that we know about. Rapping, 2 turntable microphones, scratching, cutting, sampling, looping. 99.9% of that job in New York. Right? We caught on, and of course we loved it. We got it, those are in the practice, in the craft, but we always looking in that direction first, to the best of my knowledge. And New Yorkers feel a way about the industry. Real ones, the B-boys, the real B-boys, the original B-boys, and the real B-boys, you name it, graffiti artists, you name it. With they 5 elements, whatever, they feel away, man, because that's somebody ripping your heart and soul out. And just doing whatever. It's like putting you in a timeline and sending you back to a plantation and watch some people stomp your grandmother and rape her. Like Anakin Skywalker's mother was raped to death by them aliens and all that. Right? When he decimated the whole area, he came back and told Luke and Leia mama what he had just did to them about his mother. Right before he mistakenly took her life. Going through it with Obi-Wan Kenobi? Was that Obi-Wan Kenobi? That's how I found out he was an FN, that particular movie. Him and Yoda. Yoda, player hater too. They had a love in Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because the order that they gave us the movies, or Lucas and his wife. But Lucasfilm, we in love with Obi-Wan and Yoda. Them 2 played hand. Come to find out. That's why Lord Vader looked like he was. That's wear that shit. Obi-Wan fucked that man up. He was wrong for that. Could have told that young man what he wanted to know. All he wanted to know was that really his child? That was the first child. Should know, it had to be second. Or they was twins or something. Because if she died, that means Luke and Leia had to already be born, or whatever. However that went down. He could have straightened that job out. This man about to go into intergalactic warfare as a Jedi Knight for her honor and her safety and her life. Who was that? The Dark Emperor. He used to be the senator. He was a lot like a Game of None, the Mandalorian in the Helen of Troy story. Right? He was a lot like a Game of None. He was telling them people, look, Leia was too diplomatic. She was much more like an ambassador. He was like, no, we gotta get Imperial, or we gonna get rolled over. Everybody in this meeting. And he ain't tolerate no mutiny and all that type of job either. Espionage and all, nah. I'm the head. We gonna get together and we gonna defend these galaxies, these universes for anything outside for us. Everybody within fall in line. Get with the Confederation. So Leia and Luke's mother was trying to be too diplomatic. And she's a female. A female can be a little too nurturing in certain situations. Like Pocahontas, Matoka. Too friendly in certain situations. Right? So that's the Dark Emperor, being a Jedi, went toward the Sith. He may have already gotten into it, I don't remember, but he went toward the Sith, S-I-T-H. That's like the Darkside. They call it the Darkside. So now, down the line, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen, probably some young people listening. Down the line, young Anakin, that's Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, is going to be seduced over to that side, because really what's happening in martial arts, they call it Shodan Ho. A youngster or a problematic person may get their lessons stalled because they're trying to see how responsible he's going to be with what he knows thus far. They don't trust maybe his temperament or something. They think it might be dangerous to give him more. That's what the Jedi Order did. But the way the movie played out, it looks more like they were player hating. And Yoda knows a lot of his uneasiness of Anakin is Anakin doesn't like that his mother is subservient to an alien like Yoda. Something that looks grotesque to a human being. And Yoda takes offense to that. That's what I surmise. He player hating. He's trying to keep him in a status lower than what's becoming of him. And Anakin, in a rush to get home, to raise his mother's, elevate his mother's standard of living and get her out of slavery to that thing. He went back on the visit, and that thing allowed some other aliens, he probably sold her and wouldn't tell the truth. And who he sold her to prostituted her out, they ended up gang raping her to death. He killed everything moving. Wasn't nothing moving but tumbleweeds when he was finished. That's Darth Vader, young Anakin Skywalker. He comes back, and down the line, Luke and Leia's mother, he kind of walked in on something that looked kind of questionable, kind of suspect, or whatever happened, I forgot. But he started to question her and Obi-Wan about what's going on, because they're engaged basically to be, they're courting at this point, and she might be pregnant. She got to be pregnant. Because Luke and Leia, that's their mother, he killed her in this one episode, this like what they call a segment. This scene, he makes a mistake, not knowing his powers. He's a Jedi Knight. The things Darth Vader is known for doing, making you levitate off the ground while choking you without touching you. You're in the air. They used to be selling them out on the what they call that? The big ship that was trying to repair. The Death Star. And he'd come back on the war campaign, and those guys would rank closer to his. They'd be selling out, talking jive, talking junk, because he didn't quite do what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to stop Luke and Leia and Han Solo and Lando Calrissian and all that stuff he was supposed to do. And they giving them problems. The Jedi Order giving them problems. The rebels. They talking junk because they jealous of his reign. Like, that should be my rank. It's a sucker. So some of them here have in the air levitating, choking to death. Think it's a game. You play too much. That's what he grew to be on the dark side. But a spoiler alert for all the young people who never saw it. He had to wear that dog suit and that mask because he fell in a lake of fire fighting Obi-Wan like a duel type fight because he thought that he dishonored him and his wife-to-be by having an affair with her. And instead of clearing it up, Obi-Wan started strutting around that scene like, and what? So what? If I did, as if giving him the feeling that he probably did do it. Then he looked to his woman and she smiled at him like, you soft? You jealous? You know, you never some pussy. We ain't married yet. If you like it, should have put a ring on. She playing Beyonce game. And he made a mistake and killed her. So all that just highlighting how I was talking about the Jedi Order put him in Shodan Ho in martial arts. I think that's Japanese. They say Shodan Ho. When you have a person probably going to juvenile and expelled and suspended and getting in fights and stuff, they slow that lesson down and put him in Shodan Ho. He might show disrespect to the senseis or whatnot, or fellow classmates. And that's a time period where you're being like a probationary type of period for your behavior, your social and emotional jutsu to catch up with your physical martial arts jutsu, Jutsu. Now, I'm gonna wrap that up. Meant to touch on Tech Wood said, GT, the originators of wearing that Georgia Tech, head to toe, in a very, very sporty fashion. Right, with Down by Law, he gave a story about how Down by Law came to be known for wearing Georgia Tech. Down by Law knew Techwood individuals, the Techwood boys, the one who wore the GT. So if you wasn't that, they'll take it from you, because you perpetrate. And a lot of them out there doing crimes and stuff, and the backlash will come back on Techwood said and the rest of the Techwood boys. So being at Down by Law and East Lake Meadows and Techwood with that scrape, right? Plus, on top of that, the Cobb County Police and Fulton County Police started looking at Down by Law anyway, because we were too big and too known. And we were known to be all right with them. So the police knew that it'd be like cross-pollination, quote unquote, when it comes to gang activity. You're not necessarily in a particular gang when you out there pulling capers. Because you had within the gang different people who did different stuff. So you might have to go out and so-called cross-pollinate to get something, a caper pulled off, because people in your job, your little unit, they not with it. So you end up with anybody, as long as you feel like they G-code or whatever. So the police know about this type of stuff. So we knew that them perpetrators out there slapping people, taking this, they was doing what they heard we was doing, but for the wrong reasons. That's what got it all hot. Shooting for the wrong reasons, taking people clothing and whatnot for the wrong reasons. The thing we were known to do, they started doing it just to do it, for the reputation, just to get the material gain, not knowing, like I said in the previous post, you might have a female pregnant, gave birth to X amount of your children. You find out one of these guys made that little boy or girl perform oral sex on him, or something like that. Your child. Some guy, some high school, or drop out of some around college school, whatever. Grown man, whatever. And you find out exactly who did it. See? People don't check the backstory. So all the guys, the wannabes and perpetrators, all they know is somebody got stomped out by whatever clique. They took the starter hat, the starter jacket, took the gold chain, took the Jordan shoes. But you don't know the backstory. So guys start thinking, oh, that's how they do. Oh, that's the thing we can do now. Oh, okay. People scared if I come up looking a certain way, maybe brandishing a file, whatever. They learn a little lingo we would use. And they'll try. Some of them wouldn't even slow down enough to learn the lingo. And learn the energy. You know, and all that, the tone of voice, all that stuff. And need to have something behind all that, because that ain't nothing. If they want to bother. And you ain't prepared for that. So yeah, a lot of people start dying, a lot of people start killing and whatnot. So, Tech Woods said brought a lot of light to that. You know, a lot of those behind those triggers and behind the problem, a lot of times they were not the made men, quote unquote. The mob figures, quote unquote. They were not that. They out there perpetrating. Right? And that's what it is. That's why I was young, ambitious, and many times they'll pull my coat like, no. See, no. And I'm trying to figure out, why I can't get there. Because it wasn't always about money in the first place. But since you're going to make me go to all this great living, risk my freedom, and got to have lawyer fees and all this, I might as well get paid, because my baby mama ain't paying. Whoever I'm sticking up for, a child can't pay. An old person probably can't afford it. They're living on a fixed income or whatever. So when we come straighten you, shorty, we going to tax right there on the spot. That's how we get it. For being ombudsmen and whatnot. So-called vigilante. But we really get some straightening. And if they live to tell about it, they need to let that ride, y'all. How we say it. So let that ride, y'all. Because a lot of times what happened, people will know. But they won't tell the person. Because the person will realize how big of a conspiracy it is. And then they'll start talking about the family that they injured. The child, the baby's mother, her brothers, her uncle, all the people he suspect is tied in with this. And that's going to the courtroom. Because most times, them type of people, they going to talk to the police and try to get as many people locked up as possible. And ha ha ha, and still be on the street. So a lot of times what people will do, who know the developments, won't say all that. But they'll say a good word to the person because they still believe in it. They're still giving them a chance to change his reprobate ways. And that's a very dangerous state. I was just talking about the last poll. People who think they slick. They think they street smart. You don't realize how many people around you know exactly what you're doing. Who, what, when, what, why, how. And playing dumb. Just to see how duplicitous you would be in their face. And what would you do around them in their possessions and whatnot, their loved one? Just watching you. Because we don't know how crazy. Like I say, we just came about Atlanta child murder. That fucked our heads up. The youth in that time in Atlanta, Decatur and whatnot, that messed our heads up. There was a lot of rumors going around. He had help. And with that many child victims, no, ain't no black people stupid like that. One of the main things we suspect, he had children that were luring people, other children, and enablers. I came across a man in Texas. I think it was Texas. He hired some youth, would pay him about $200 per victim. The youth would take the money knowing full well he was going to tie him up, chain him up, restrain him with a false imprisonment, torture them, maybe sexual assault, and he was going to take their life. And they would even bring their friends. And I think this was Texas where that happened. It might have been back in the 80s. I think it was. The 80s or the 90s. So when they used to say Wayne Willie wasn't working alone, we can't trust nobody around there. Brother, sister, cousin, whoever. Mother, father. Because the news won't tell. And then all the adults in the hood quiet. And you don't hear about any retribution. So we like, okay. Okay. Yeah. It wasn't wise to play with us up there, man. Right? All I can talk about what I know. Miami, Dade County, Broward County, it wasn't wise to play with us. That's just how it was. Right? Won't say much more than what I have been saying, because I think for me personally, being who I am, Omerta, it's just not cool to throw names out there, places and events, because that sets you up for people stepping to me. It's not stepping to me, call themselves checking me and put me in place. About some name I drop, you know how I ain't on G code and you the one around here not only getting on people by G code. I developed a character in my rap lyrics, Sergeant Slaughter, Mr. Murder. And a lot of that was aimed at, I'm trying to think of the lyrics and spit that out there right quick. When you dissect the lyrics, like they will do, right? Even when it was just on paper, and I was spitting a cappella in TGK, and at my house on 53rd Street, 5th Ave, Northwest. I started to hire myself out in the lyrics, right? The way the lyrics would go, as a hitman, primarily for those who were cooperating with the state, bringing down organized thugs. It's around the time Outlaws just came out, Thug Life just not too long, around the same time period. 96. When Dylan Mobley issued a fugitive warrant for my arrest. And the SWAT team came and got it. I always get back through my lyrics. So for a long time, people have been very uneasy around me. I already put the theme out there with they ain't never got together like that, y'all. Talking about YBI, let's talk about this. Chi-Town Incorporated. Me and Kid Nice being treated like the young YBI. North, Detroit, Motown. If I'm not mistaken, that ain't Chi-Town, that's Motown. Not knowing that, because I didn't see the documentary until like 2017, 18. And I saw that, we were talking about they went to Earl Flint, and when they pony down, YBI was going to get pony down and some other clique. So dude being interviewed looked a lot like DJ Ice too. And act a lot like the personality, a lot the same. Then they go to Earl Flint and da-da-da. I saw that documentary. I think it's 2 of them featuring him. Somebody who can tell you the real, straight from out that clique, YBI. So YBI, that time period, it's a lot going on. Big Isaac Hicks just got knocked out the previous year, 87. A lot of stuff happening that's happening fast. Seemed like things that took years to happen only took weeks and months, days. Events just flying by. That Robert Justin Larry Trimble terrorist story I told about Big Head Marlin, when terrorist Harry about to tear a hole in their behind, with me, G2, and Kid Nice standing right there, like we just gonna stand by and watch. Mike Murphy came out of nowhere. I don't know where he was at. Mike Murphy came out of nowhere. Hey, what's up? What's up, man? I'm gonna end this part right there.